let's keep the day going. This is the last match of the day, and it's an important one. It's MOCKIT going up against FRONTLINE as the RLCS finishes up for the European region today. Let's go over to the commentary desk with Shogun and Finable Carpet.
So, can FRONTLINE continue their dominance from earlier on, or will MOCKIT show up in their debut for this season and shut that down? Maybe.
You okay? Are you shutting down?
Did I say dat?
Dat.
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 Okay.
Okay,
Anyways.
yeah, we're definitely shutting down as a duo there. But yeah, this is going to be a huge game. Last one that we've got today. Well, can they do it, though?
I mean, are you asking me, or is this like rhetorical? It's just like a,
I want your
can
opinion.
they do it? Yeah.
I'm not here to psych
Or is
them
it-
up. They got to do that themselves.
Fair enough. I mean, obviously, it's pretty much the desk versus the rest over here. We all picked FRONTLINE, so obviously you and I, prior to today starting, thought it was FRONTLINE, and I think they've shown even more so that they can do it. You know, I think MOCKIT's at a bit of a fault where we haven't really seen them play very much, and Gibbs stating they're more defensive means it's on FRONTLINE to try and break through that. They have to shut down Bluey, but Bluey's not the only one. He's got Farah and Shawset at his back, and when you look at their records, Farah has shown that he can execute, especially like, you know, he's got that dribble heard around the world kind of thing that everyone went nuts over. And then on top of it, you have Shawset, who I think has always had the skill, but the pressure's always built on him. He seemed to just either have an off game or an on game.
Yeah, Shawset's definitely the veteran on this squad. You know, got multiple seasons under his belt. Farah, last season's Rookie of the Season. Now he might be teaming up with this season's Rookie of the Season if that first game is an indicator for it all. However, they've got vets on the other side of them. Pashi 90, definitely one of them. But
Yeah.
I want to bring up something interesting to you. When this team was originally announced from MOCKIT, Fairy Peak was announced as the captain. But me and you both know what Pashi is like. Do you think that's going to be how it stays? Or do you kind of see Pashi taking over as the season goes along?
I mean, that's tough because the captain role has always been kind of elusive in Rocket League. Like, what does the captain truly do? Is he just the one that keeps them on schedule, make sure they, you know, review replays and do stuff? Does he actually make the shots in game? And I don't even know if people really, you know, like respect the captain title. Sometimes it's just like, I mean, yeah, we're on a team. You just need to be the guy to report to the admins, or you're the guy that does whatever. So I actually don't know. I'd assume slowly. I think just Pashi's leadership role, he's just shown that he can do it.
I actually got it in my ear. That's already changed.
What's already changed?
Pashi's now the captain.
Oh, all right. Well, there you go. That's a
He did
useless
it.
conversation we just had.
Yep.
We speculated, and it was useless.
It means we could speculate for the future.
But I just think he's got the experience, honestly. If I were Farah, I'd give it to Pashi. He's clearly shown that he can take any two players that he thinks have some sort of skill, some sort of talent, and he can kind of mold them into a performing team. Because he understands how to fill. He's not a guy that goes for the limelight. He can execute where he needs. He's consistent, and he finds players that he thinks can do the same, and then he makes sure that they all work together as a group.
Yeah, well, Fairy Peak is a player that seems to have had a rebirth into the competitive scene as well. Last season during league play, did not look solid at all, was looking towards the bottom of the majority of the standings towards almost every single stat. But once we hit the league play, I mean, not league play, the World Championships suddenly started to look that much better, proving that even more throughout tournaments that they played through the summer, even the URL. So will they be able to pull it off now? It is time for MOCKIT versus FRONTLINE. We're going to be getting into this series. Freaky with the early shot, forcing the save from Farah. But those shots cannot be placed towards the middle of the net. Plenty of teams ready to deal with it. Shawset might have been caught out of position. As MOCKIT take the early part of this game. I don't really want to see them go onto that defensive foot this time around. Do not want to give any sort of space to this team, especially a team as good at solo carries as FRONTLINE are. So it's going to be up to them to challenge all across the field.
Yeah, I think that kind of goes for both teams right now. You never want to be in a 1v1 against someone like Pashi, or Fairy Peak, or Freaky for that matter. All three of them, fantastic solo players, understanding how to contest against a single player. So both of them never want to be, you see right now, Farah trying to retreat back so Shawset's not all alone. They're trying to support each other on defense.
And it's something that you see a lot more from Europe than you do that from North America, where it's a lot more of a three-man rotation. In North America, you do often get the one person back the majority of the time. Garrett G being a very good example of that, pulled off well. Europe, though, it is challenge everywhere. Do not give up any space.
Well, what I do find interesting is there's still a trend in a player's attitude, whether he's more... is this going to go in?
And that's going to be a big save there from Farah, cutting in across from the sides. And that is a couple of saves now for him. But here comes Fairy Peak. Constant pressure from MOCKIT working out. They've managed to find themselves an opening.
Yep, I don't know what Gibbs is talking about defensive teams. Maybe they're just trying to prove him wrong, but they have had so much aggression already. 6 shots on net. Not even halfway through the game. We still have a minute until the halfway mark. Frontline only with a single one coming from Bluey.
So MOCKIT are going to take the early kickoff as well. They've got the pressure and they've got boost as well. Stolen at least one of them from the side of Frontline. Usually the safer ones you can get a hold of. Ferro's got time to take. Actually could have controlled that one a lot better, but instead he's now going to give that one up to Pashi. Pressure all over from MOCKIT, and they are looking sturdy in their opening game.
Yeah, and pace right there. That is a textbook pass from Freaky. Perfectly into the corner, bouncing it right out. No one in that midfield play, no one in the corner to contest him. You want to slow those down if you can when you're spreading out on defense, but needing to come from net, Pashi easily able to outpace that defender.
So, Frontline going to need to try and get themselves back in. This might be their opportunity to do so, but they are being beat to every single ball, outpaced so far by this MOCKIT squad. And Pashi is doing what he does best. Almost like a Jacob style of play right now. Gets himself off the ball, goes for bumps, goes for demos, takes away all the boost he can, but Chaussette will win the challenge off a sublime flat pass from Bluey.
This was honestly just too fast for them to react to. I think everyone knew what Bluey was attempting, and Fairy Peak just not able to read it in time. Didn't jump to try and read that Chaussette there so quickly. And that's the trust that you see from Frontline, always understanding what Bluey's capable of. So Chaussette's like, all right, fine, I'm just going to wait in front of net because I know you'll get it to me.
They were put into such a difficult situation there. They knew how quickly Blue was going to take it, but they also knew where it was coming from. So what they wanted to do is they wanted to arc around to that back post and then come through for the save, but they just couldn't do that. So the best they could hope for was getting onto the goal line and potentially getting a 50-50 block. Did not work out like that. Farah, big demo onto Fairy Peak, and that's going to be pushed straight down by Blue. He tried to go underneath his opponent, still opening up a net, and there's Chaussette. That should have been turned in. But Frontline on the offensive side.
I think Chaussette's better option would have been to pass it towards the mid or hit it harder off the backboard. He had someone waiting and in a tough angle for him. And the counterattack from Pashi, 90, will put them 2 goals up again.
Pashi 90, I don't think has actually removed himself from the Frontline half. Unless absolutely needed.
Yeah.
He is living up there right now, and if those deliveries continue, he will continue to thrive.
And correct me if I'm wrong, generally, while I know he's really good at taking shots, but do you really, I don't know if I usually would put him as an aggressive player that's always on the attack.
Pashi tends to adapt to whatever's around him. That's the reason why he's been on so many successful teams so far, is because he knows what it takes.
He's a thinker.
He's a thinking player. He's not the highest out there in mechanics, but he's a tactical genius when it comes to this game and knows exactly what he has to do to get results. As he tries to get a block, he's got Fairy Peak around to help out as well. Freaky can now run onto this shot. That is going to go up high, and another save from Farah. Savior medal. That's the last thing he wants. Too many saves usually means, well, you're on the back foot all the time, and that is not good in Rocket League. Another long shot. Chaussette has to try and get it. He's constant going off the backboard. It is only a matter of time before MOCKIT break down to defense one more time and pick up their 4th goal. This is already a very difficult task for Frontline as it is.
13 shots from MOCKIT, by the way.
Compared to?
Compared to 6. I wasn't ready for you to ask that. I'm impressed that I added that quickly.
Danger right there. Cast the map. Always danger. Freaky's got time, but was not close enough to the ball. Frontline still trailing with 45 seconds remaining. And the better spells in the offensive end. But it is going to get broken down. The rotation is just too slow at times. They're not able to control the boosts. And it means that after 1 or 2 waves, MOCKIT can just break them back down and move forward. And that takeaway from Ferro is not going to make this any easier. Bluey gets himself up in time. Final 20 seconds. Can he get himself that double touch? No, he cannot. And now Freaky on the counter-attack, wasting more time. MOCKIT are going to head into the final 15 seconds with a comfortable lead. And they are going to take game number 1 away from a Frontline team that was resounding earlier. There is the 4th. Fairy Peak stepping up.
Shogun, at the moment, what I'm really noticing is pacing, but is there anything special that you notice MOCKIT doing that's really putting them above the rest?
They're taking advantage of Frontline. That rotation is not strong enough in Frontline right now. They are always rotating back to their own net whenever MOCKIT come towards them, and it makes them panic. And as soon as they're doing it, they have to waste so much boost to get back.
Yep.
That by the time that they are back, they've got to say, oh, and we need more boost. Basically, MOCKIT have just got control from that point.
And when you're retreating, it really is just that extra 1 or 2 seconds. If you can get back quick enough to where you can patiently buy time, push it in the corner, and then just kind of sit next to it, a lot of times you don't have to go anywhere. You don't need to make a counterattack. You don't need to go any further out of your net. You just need to sit next to it, drive a little bit, make someone come contest you. You're just buying time for your teammates to come back. But if you're even 2 seconds later, you have to smack it because you're not going to be able to have time to control. And then that's when they're able to take another follow-up shot, and then your teammate's forced to now retreat quick and smack it. There's no control. And then that's where MOCKIT seems to just be overbearing on them.
Basically, just as soon as you're in that position, you are aware that there is going to be a follow-up. Unless you've got someone back, but if there was someone back, you wouldn't be in that position to start with. So MOCKIT taking advantage of what's available to them, less ground control from them, but instead hitting it well. And that's the only time I don't like the strategy of hitting the ball really hard, is when people are doing it, but not quite getting solid connection. Got to get it on that half volley. They are always getting it on the half volley. And it just means that they are punishing Frontline.
And if you're going to smack it hard, you know, your motivation are either, I need to space, and we need some space to breathe, we need to pick up some boost because they're going to keep driving, or I see an opening. I see a corner where we can then potentially, hopefully, come in and contest. And if you don't have either of those, you're clearing for the sake of clearing, you're giving up possession. They're just going to line up even harder trying to get a counterattack on you and push it back in. So you need to be very careful as to how and why you're going to get a hard clear.
It's game number 2. Frontline find themselves already a match down to a very strong MOCKIT offense in our previous game, but will that continue? Frontline, it's going to be all up to them to try and prove otherwise. Bluey now going to try and set that one up early. Pashy can deal with it. Now the outfield pass, much better. Actually giving his teammate room to run onto. Freaky has got plenty of time, goes back to boost and can launch that back up high. Frontline holding themselves back a little bit more, though, at the start of this game. But the time we'll be able to tell whether or not they've made the change necessary is when we see them in for a couple of waves of offense. Then we'll see whether or not that rotation holds strong. Bluey looking for the flick. That is going to be way too much work for Chaussette to do. And now Bluey also committing. I mean, Farah has to come up, but they have given up possession of the ball over to MOCKIT. That could go the entire way. Nope, there is Bluey on the goal line. Multiple players up here for Frontline. Just trying to take control of any mistakes that MOCKIT make. Unfortunately, MOCKIT have not made them so far. So Frontline's still trailing, and that is another whiff on the side of Frontline. We're not seeing this earlier on today.
No, and you're starting to see that trend of Bluey and Chaussette working very, very closely together. Chaussette always trusting that Bluey will get the touch that he's intending, which I think is a fair thought to have.
It's not playing out the way that I usually expect, or the way I was informed of this team playing out by other EU pros. The way it was explained to me is Bluey and Farah do stuff, Chaussette sits at the back and makes sure that it just doesn't go wrong. So far, though, Farah proven to be the back line, but it does not matter. Pashy, once again, gets the ball, gets it into the net.
Yeah, and this is
and
one of
those, too much.
One of those tough situations. Bluey has to use a lot of boost to get this save no matter what, and won't have time to get momentum. He would have liked to be on the backboard for that, to hopefully follow that out and have a lot of momentum on his side and a lot of pace. But since he wasn't able to get up there in time, he didn't know whether to read a shot from his opponent or to just go for the initial save. And they will succeed the first goal.
Oh, that is an awkward bounce, and that will be put into the net by Fairy Peak, who managed to read it. Caught that really awkward part of the wall and just comes straight out and down. Yeah, good luck reading that.
Yeah, no, there is a not so sweet spot depending on which team you're on. Perfectly up here in the corner of the pitch.
Well, they've managed to hit 2 of the really bad spots now, because those walls are not completely curved. They are just a straight wall with 2 curves either side of it. So he managed to hit it on one of those curves and hit it on the curved part of the ceiling. So it went very poorly indeed. MOCKIT double their lead up to 2-0. Actually try and chase that down, but Chaussette will be there in time. The ball up high, but there's going to be no follow-up for a long period of time, and this is a problem I've got with Frontline. Seems to have continued into this game. That defensive rotation or that offensive rotation is too far up. It's going to put yet another shot in. Fairy Peak can turn that one around. And MOCKIT. Very nice job of getting rid of the offensive pressure.
Frontline just seems to be missing on that midfield pressure. MOCKIT always has plenty of room to breathe in the midfield. They're able to pull out one defender. And then on top of it, Frontline will contest one person that's dribbling. You're probably going to lose that, so you always want to follow up, and they don't always have that follow-up because they're not having that overall team pressure in the mid.
They're doing right now what's called a V rotation. Rather than putting one person back and another person in a potential area to react to the offensive player, they're putting one player forward and the other players either side, so left and right, as offensively as possible. Unfortunately, MOCKIT are just getting around that one player every single time.
Now, do you think that has to do with, the fact that their one up is probably Bluey? Do you think it just has to do with the confidence in a player like him to be able to beat out more than one defender at a time? What a drop down!
There's going to be an opportunity to try and get off the backboard. There's going to be an open net. Bluey can turn that one in. It's exactly what they needed with this style of rotation to make MOCKIT make mistakes.
That first drop from Farah is what gave them that. That was nasty. Getting the dunk on to drop it straight down. Chaussette there again, just to body it. Make sure they can't clear it out. Just keep it. Don't lose any ground. And Bluey, that's an easy shot for him. One goal away now. They might be able to tie this up.
So it finally works out for them. They need that first player to cause havoc. And that is when they're going to be able to get their opportunities to put the ball into the net. Pashy going to control on that wall. I don't know how much boost he's got. Not enough to do too much with it. As Bluey tried to go off that backboard, but Fairy Peak knew that that was going to be coming in. Just gets rid of it. Shot in. There is no one there, and we are all tied up.
Starting with a demolition, I think, is what really gave him that hiccup. One spawning in the same corner everyone is in, then Pashy drives all the way to the opposite side, picking up a few boost pads, thinking he had the time. But Farah going for a tight, hard shot from the side will tie this game up in game number 2.
And suddenly, just like that, Frontline have put themselves back into this game. Chaussette can get that over. MOCKIT are taking too much time playing this ball away. And every single time they do, Frontline have changed. They are now contesting everything, and they have won the majority of them over this last minute. Fairy Peak gonna try and get there, cannot get any contact. Farah with the block. Here comes the shot from Pashy. Oh, off the crossbar.
He had a lot of bodies to shoot over, but just narrowly missed that shot.
Once again, Pashy trying to take the ball over. There's Chaussette.
Chaussette!
Gets the second touch.
I think he single-handedly just defeated the entire team. Pashy just getting that whiff. Chaussette right around Freaky, then just over Fairy Peak, following that over the crossbar. He missed his first shot, but he made sure to secure it in the end. They are 1 goal up with 32 seconds remaining.
And from that angle, that is such a hard shot to make. You've got to get it under the crossbar whilst the ball is running away from you. Hard enough to do at the best of times, but Chaussette has now meant that this is a complete sweep in the scoreline. 3-2, Bluey puts that down, gets enough power on it to avoid Pashy's bumper. That was awaiting a shot, and out of nowhere, a huge comeback from Frontline has resulted, once this ball hits the floor, in a major game drop. Although Fairy Peak's gonna have an opportunity. He's put it onto the net.
Oh my God!
What a game!
He's actually able to put it around the final defender, Fairy Peak, following this up after Pashy taps it right to him. Beautiful pass, seeing the opening in the corner, and Fairy Peak gently placing that to the corner. We will see overtime in game number 2.
How calm do you have to be to see that we are on 0 seconds, everyone on Frontline is trying to challenge us, and we're gonna go for the team play?
Really calm.
Incredible from MOCKIT. And we are now into a crucial overtime from both of these teams. MOCKIT having the lead for so long. Farah with the jump got faked out by both of the MOCKIT players, but now he's got the opportunity to take this ball. Early shot from him, forces the save from Freaky. Chaussette gets himself up, goes for the shot. It's just gonna be a little bit too high, and the angle is too difficult for a follow-up shot. 2 players from MOCKIT, though, they cannot afford to start panicking now. They've done the difficult part with 0 panic at all.
Yeah. And they've got MOCKIT's boost now. They cannot let this up. Frontline has a good opportunity to keep this drive. Yeah.
Comes out from the blind zone. Now with the pass over to Fairy Peak. Gets that towards the net. There's going to be a double save. Bluey and Chaussette both moving forward. Bluey still with boost. Can't recover, but Farah and Chaussette are getting each other's way. Both of these teams looking shaky in this overtime. As now Fairy Peak can continue to take this ball. It's going to go all the way down to the other end of the pitch.
Neither of them, I think, were mentally prepared for this. Even MOCKIT getting caught off guard by the opportunity to bring this into overtime. Bluey out to Farah, then back to Bluey.
Freaky now looking for Fairy Peak. That's going to go straight down to Farah. And yes, to your point, both these teams had moments where they must have thought they'd won. 2-0 in the final minute of a game is usually it being done. Taking the lead and having a goal in 0 seconds in the game usually means you think it's done. But now they are both fighting for this. Actually cannot get the block. It's going to be Chaussette over to Bluey. Bluey wants to tap that one straight down.
Oh my God!
Who doesn't get there in time. And Pashi with the clear. Both these teams.
I would have called the series right there if that went in.
Fighting tooth and nail for this game number 2. And if FRONTLINE can pick this game up, what a series we're going to have in our hands. Even if MOCKIT pick this up, what a series we've got in our hands. Europe is crazy today. All the way out, Bluey gets himself there in time, can push it into the corner. Still over there, Chaussette wants to wait. Freaky though, with very good contact. But it just means that they're pushing this straight back over into FRONTLINE's half. MOCKIT now have the opportunity, but they keep hitting it back. I don't know if they're just expecting FRONTLINE to make a mistake, but it will not happen. Keep tapping it down, handing it straight back over. Now Bluey with the shot. Push over to the side by Freaky.
No
That's
boost.
going to be another shot. Farah!
They will get the game. Fairy Peak and Freaky both having no boost on this last drive. He tried to get as much as he could when he pushed that out, but he had nothing left, and Farah will push that past Pashi 90. I'm just going to go with it because why not?
Anytime else, Carpet, I would call you out for that. But after a series, as a game, I should be correcting myself, as good as that one, I'll let you have it.
Thank you. You know, that really means a lot, Shogun. FRONTLINE putting up an amazing display. 14 shots for them. 14 shots to 7. Unbelievable display for them. Yeah, no, 8. God, I'll never be able to do it.
If we can continue with games like that.
Yep.
Game 5? Should we just do it?
I have no doubt we'll see a game 5, but you can even tell there at the end, MOCKIT, they really struggled for boost. I think that's where that last clear came from. You mentioned that as it was happening, they're just giving this up. Why are they giving it up? But 2 players completely depleted a boost. At that point, if you're going to clear, that's because you need some time. But the counterattack plays can be so tough to execute because you need to do it quickly. If they hadn't done that, if they took even 1 or 2 more seconds more, somebody could have picked up a few more boost pads and been a bit more useful. But since they did it so quickly, FRONTLINE, immediate counterattack, 1 hit, a bad touch on defense, resulting in the next shot being a goal. So fantastically played by them. MOCKIT that 0-second goal, I thought would put them into the point where they were just going to take it in overtime. Both these teams now giving it their all. Everything just thrown out on the field.
So much adrenaline used by both of those teams in that game.
And us.
Oh, boy, boy, boy. We've still got plenty here to go,
Yeah,
Carpet.
we do.
But thankfully, European Rocket League is energizing me. As we are going to go into game number 3, and Chaussette's going to start this off using the ceiling, but could not get the hook. And whilst it's only recently been brought in, those ceiling shots getting better and better read by our top teams. Here comes Bluey, using that upper 90 to turn it into the net, but this is poor positioning from MOCKIT.
Yeah, someone should have been right there. Farah had all the time in the world to center that up and place it to Bluey, and I think his shot, his pass was better than the shot. If he'd put the shot just under the crossbar, I think either of them could have gotten it and cleared it or pinched it out. But since it was too high for them to react to, just above the crossbar, they had no choice but to stay grounded, in which case Bluey was too fast for them.
Here comes the follow-up shot. Chaussette puts it to the side, but Fairy Peak pre-jumping, knows exactly where the shot was going to go. Now Bluey over to Violent Panda. They're going to stop playing this up high.
The Violent Panda?
This is a very aerial-based series from both these teams. Yet another long ball played. Seems like you just want to try and press forward as quickly as possible. Can't remember the last time I actually saw someone try and take the ball down for a solid dribble or to try and force a challenge. But it is working, and both these teams do seem like they are comfortable with it. Going to see who can pull this strategy off better. There's another shot over to the side, shot set. There's plenty of time to get into the corner, but Frontline going to be stuck on that defensive side for quite a while. Two players commit, but Bluey keeps it down, and because the ball was landing straight in front of me, he could take the ball over. Goes for the first attempted dribble we've seen in a while. 90 seconds now done in this game. Frontline still holding up by 1-0. That was a lovely pass from Bluey. I don't think even his teammates expected that. Were not there in time. There's also a case right now for Frontline that you don't know Bluey's going to get that completed, so why commit? Especially when you're 1 goal to the lead.
Demolition on Freaky will relieve a bit of pressure for Frontline. They're allowed to get a weak clear just to get a follow-up, knowing that they do not have the pressure or the confidence to come up. Another demolition on goalie.
It's going to be too hard of an angle, though, for Bluey to take. I understand him wanting to try for that, but the situation just was not right for them to pick up their second goal. Now over into the corner. Lovely touch there from Freaky, and that will be followed up from Pashi, dropping down with a sublime pass.
Yeah, Freaky dropping straight down on top of this. I think he just recovered, trapped himself onto the wall, come down, shot set, not truly expecting that touch, and now tied up just before halftime.
Punch for punch right now between both of these teams. A crucial game for each. Shot set. Can go into the far side, going to look for the follow-up, but did not expect that bounce out. So now MOCKIT can try and put something together. Ferrer is just having a field day with Pashi over there, but they're going to both leave each other alone. Neither of these teams able to set up long periods of time for the siege. And is that down to a lack of rotational prowess, Carpet, or is that just down to how good these teams are at diffusing that situation?
I think it's a mixture of that and the respect. Both teams have started to respect each other as this series goes on. A little bit too afraid to contest too quickly. Bluey with a beautiful touch, but Fairy Peak will shut that down.
Here comes Freaky. He's going to be quite late on this rotation back, and he just is going to have a huge argument with Fairy Peak. Not like this, lads.
I mean, what is Freaky to do, I guess, in a situation like this? Farah was right there barreling down. I think he panicked a little bit. He could have potentially got behind that. I don't know how much time, pace, or boost he could have had for that. He just wanted to try and touch it. Scared that Farah would push it through, but it didn't really matter. Now, 1 goal down, MOCKIT.
Frontline looking to try and capitalize on their huge win earlier on against Gale Force eSports by taking this series against MOCKIT and going 2-0 for the start of their season. Fairy Peak can put that one straight down, but Bluey with the save. No double commit either. They've still got players around, but they were not positioned very well at all. And Pashi can put that one away from them.
This play brought to you by Fairy Peak. Watch his recovery and then immediately dropping back, passing that all the way across the net out to Pashi 90, who then crosses net yet again. That crossed the net 3 times back-to-back, from left to right, right to left, left to right again. And that is so hard to read as a defender because you never know where they're going to place it. That is quite the comeback for MOCKIT.
So once again, we find these teams all tied up, as we have come to expect from them at this point in time. Another long clear, Fairy Peak. He's got time, but actually he's going to be challenged for it early on by Josette, who gets it to a very dangerous position. Louis taking control, plays it a bit too early, and Pashi taking his time past 2 players. Got Fairy Peak now in support. How much boost does he have, though? Not enough. Could not get the ball under his control.
Yep. He ran out at the end of that play.
That's why it is so difficult to pull off individual plays in Rocket League, especially on the floor. Just run out eventually. So Bluey gets that set up. Here comes Farah, but Freaky there just in time. Here's now MOCKIT's turn to go onto the defensive half. Or at least it was. Now it's going to see if Frontline can put themselves back into a good position. That is going to go looping. Fairy Peak just gets the clear, and to what you said earlier, actually as Pashi just get that down, but it will be cleared. Something that we saw during the World Championship Finals last season, how defensive that series was, down to how much they respected both their opponents and the situation. Same thing starting to happen here.
For good reason. These teams right now are giving it their all, and it's quite a fantastic match.
Gonna go straight down. Bluey gets a hard clear. Gonna need someone to follow that, though, as 2 players from MOCKIT with the follow-up, so Chaussette can pretty much do what he wants with that. And he will be fine. Here we go, yet another overtime.
Shogun, you know, I know I'm getting into the match the worse my posture gets as I'm watching.
Yeah.
I turn into this weird hunchback the more into it I'm getting. And I have lost all my posture during this series.
Bluey over to the side. Trying to get this one down. He's actually managed to get a hold of it. Over to Farah. Another long clear. That can be followed up by Bluey. Exit being missed. Here's Chaussette. Gets it down. Farah's got an open goal to aim at. Frontline are now 2-1 up.
I love this idea from Chaussette. He saw Bluey in the corner. Instead of taking the shot, Fairy Peak was there waiting. He takes a lobber, and instead of, I'm losing it already. Instead of Bluey being able to turn around, it was completely missed by Fairy Peak, and Farah will follow it up and secure them their second win of the series in game number 3.
But the big question right now is what is happening to MOCKIT in these overtimes? That's happened twice now where as soon as it's got started, they've just looked like a completely different team. They need to be playing it the exact same as they play the rest of the game.
I mean, I think a lot of it has to go with boost driving from Frontline and MOCKIT not being comfortable without having full boost. That is a huge part of being a versatile player. Can you perform with negligible boost? Are you comfortable with only having 30? You'll see a lot of times goals go in because someone rushed to a corner when you could have picked up a few pads, gotten just enough boost to make the play go, and then hopefully buy yourself more time to get a corner or side boost later. But I think a lot of those times they're struggling, and I think it's probably because Frontline is stifling them well. They're just suffocating them with boost. They're constantly up. They're stealing it every time they get a chance, and it's really subtle. I haven't even really been noticing it because it doesn't seem as dominating. But, you know, that one goal that we noticed when we saw Freaky try and clear it out, him and Fairy Peak had 0 boost. And Fairy Peak was at midfield. He was at defense. All that was left was Pashy 90. And I think that's playing a big part. And then into overtime, they didn't want that to be the reason. So I think at the beginnings of overtimes, they're like, all right, well, let's at least try and grab some boost. And they get punished immediately.
One game is all it takes for Frontline to go 2-0 in their opening week.
The week of their lives.
Farah, this will be the second time he does this.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
But there is still plenty of game left to go, considering how close these last few games have been. Do not write anything off just yet, especially when Freaky has just got a rocket in his pocket and a boomer for a car.
Yeah, they are sick of getting scored on right after kickoff. Chaussette and Farah both grounded, unable to go for that. Farah, I don't know how much boost he had, not a whole lot. And that will be an early goal for MOCKIT, trying to tie up this series.
These kickoffs have been so important towards this series, just controlling those opening few boosts and settling that pressure. Really just seemed like goals are coming either within 10 seconds or 2 minutes. There is no in between. There's another shot. Farah gets the save and pushing it over to the side. Bluey looking to try and get down. Pashy though gets the block. Chaussette. What's that one long? Bluey tried to try and flick that one down.
He actually got that touch too.
This is just how well Rocket League players start to adapt throughout series. They are no longer using conventional wisdom against themselves or their opponents. Now trying to play what they know their opponents are going to try and do. Very big, looking for a slip down. Just couldn't quite hit it. Those roof shots so difficult to take, but almost a self-pass. Putting this Frontline squad into a difficult position. Pashy continuing to take this. He's done a couple of very good solo plays so far. Just haven't quite got the end result for it. This Frontline have done a very good job of just spacing themselves out, sending one after another, and eventually Pashy's either going to lose the ball or run out of boost.
You can see Frontline very aware of the entire pitch, knowing where all their opponents are, and especially teammates going for the hard drops down to each other, always looking to try and make sure that they work as a team to get it to the net.
It's going to go off that backboard, but Freaky has that one covered. Now we can go the other end, but Bluey once again. He is not afraid to go for a cut across the field. Pashy does not get any contact, and Farah's going to push that one over to Bluey yet again. Just can't get it now. MOCKIT have got 2 against 1 for the time being. Farah managed to get himself back in time. Cuts out the play. Pashy. Strong power from that, and there is Fairy Peak in the middle. We were wondering earlier on what you got to do when you're facing your own goal and trying to go for one of those saves. Well, that is them pulling that off almost perfectly.
I don't think Bluey has defended from net this entire game. He's always finding himself at midfield, only coming back when he needs to smack it off their own backboard for a last-second save. There we go, finally from the back wall. But a hard clear out to Farah. Pashy now needing to clear this to the corner.
Bluey with the setup, but here comes Freaky. Both of these teams rotating in as late as possible so that way they can try and utilize as much of the field as they can. Pashy gets rid of one player. Can try and take it past two. He's still got 40 boosts left. He's actually going to leave that one, but nobody in position. Usually you put one player behind the player controlling the ball. Instead, MOCKIT using two. That meant there was no one on the far side ready for a ball to be played towards them. Now Pashy go for the same setup. This time he doesn't want to go for the pass. Says, you guys weren't there last time. I'll do it this time myself.
He caught Bluey between a rock and a hard place. What does Bluey do? Does he wait and let Pashy dribble him on this? Especially because it was 2v1, Fairy Peak right next to him. Or does he contest and hope to get some kind of 50-50? But you can't do that when Pashy's got the time. Honestly, I think that was just a loss for Bluey. Whatever situation put them in there that happened, you know, a touch or two before that was probably where they felt.
Bluey does miss the ball front line. 2 goals down, almost. Oh, Chaussette, I knew you had it, but even I was still afraid. Freaky with the tap-up, can go off that wall, takes the early shot, and Farah with the save. Fairy Peak getting demoed just off screen. Frontline have done this before. In game number 3, I believe it was. Been a very long series and a very good series at that. Still Farah trying to find that midfield play. MOCKIT just waited for the mistake. Now they try and pounce off that backboard. Here comes Fairy Peak with the block. Yeah, never clear, but MOCKIT holding that midfield. Now a pass over to Pashy. Lovely 1-2.
Right now we see Bluey constantly in that midfield, which is, I think, where all the boost is going. I think he's just stealing all that midfield boost, but you can see where it starts to fault them. If Farah ever needs help or Chaussette ever needs help, Bluey's always just a few steps too far because they're trying to get the counterattacks, which has worked for them so far in this series. But now MOCKIT, seeing that happening, they're trying to be a bit more meticulous about their touches on offense to force those defenders far from net so they can find opportunities like that.
So for the first time in this series, a team has picked themselves up a 3-goal lead. And it will most likely be converted into a win unless Frontline can pull off some miracle of Rocket League gameplay. This time still ticking away. Final 33 seconds remaining. Chaussette trying to get control of the ball. But MOCKIT just seem to have settled into this game. Nothing really all that risky about their play, but instead going back to a solid rotation and covering their teammates whenever a mistake is made. Final 10 seconds. And we cap it for the second time today, for Frontline's second time today, are gonna go into game number 5.
The real match button, Shogun. Press it.
Oh,
This is a real match, buddy.
so happy whenever I get pressed that
To
button.
be fair, this one's been real since the beginning.
It's been pretty nuts.
These teams have gone back and forth. I'm sure a lot of respect going for both these teams. I think whoever wins will see a lot of good sportsmanship coming out of either side because they have just really been taking it to each other. But there, you finally see MOCKIT shutting down Frontline on shots. 2 shots for Frontline to only 11 for MOCKIT.
Very rare in...
Why did I say only? To 11 for MOCKIT.
Yeah, that's a lot of shots.
Whatever the opposite of only is.
A lot.
That's a lot.
Yes.
MOCKIT really just having a lot of control of that game. And maybe you think they figured out Frontline. You see Frontline pacing out, and if you really watch Bluey, I was just on his camera for a minute just to see how he was positioning, and he never wanted to leave that midfield. And he was constantly grabbing those side boosts, which is actually really good as a tactic because it does slow MOCKIT down in the attack. Because if they use all their boost on an attack, they rely on getting that mid boost when they're retreating. If they can't get that, then they're not going to be able to keep the attack up as long. But you see a lot of times Chaussette and Farah really need Bluey's help on defense. Do you think that's kind of their fault? Will they change into the next match or game?
It's something that I like the idea of. If it works, it's going to work very well. But the problem for Frontline right now is they are always one mistake or getting beat to one ball away from being put another goal down. So it's a strong strategy, but it's a risky one.
Yeah.
It basically means, okay, there is a limited time on MOCKIT's offense, but in those first 1 or 2 waves of offense, they cannot afford for Chaussette or Ferrer to do anything wrong.
Yeah, and they're definitely, you know, Bluey's a very reliable player, and I think a lot of what they do sometimes is, hey, let's make sure Bluey gets a touch, because he'll guarantee us at least some kind of opportunity, or at least get it around one player. But I think sometimes if you rely on that a bit too hard as a team, even if it's a collective situation, then you're going to suffer in another position.
Frontline trying to take this ball early. Going to be giving that one up over to Fairy Peak. He's looking for Freaky. Early jump there from Chaussette. Almost made to pay for that. Frontline getting themselves on their back foot, and MOCKIT once again using that midfield player as a target for the defensive clear. Frontline on neither of the occasions have actually challenged yet, but I do expect that to change as this game goes along. So both times it has resulted in MOCKIT getting into very good positions to start setting something up. First
By the way,
goal
already
can be so dangerous.
4 shots from MOCKIT already.
Finding their groove, they really are. Bluey is now seemingly a little bit more defensive. So tries to set up. Ferrer could not get any contact, and then Ferrer is removed from the game entirely. So Bluey tries to get the block. They have now taken it around him. Ferrer coming back. They tried hand it, but Bluey's still upfield. It's very Peak, long pass over into the side. Both of these teams seemingly got their opportunities. Bluey whipped past one player, almost got it past two, but Freaky shuts the door.
Almost with the incredible 1v1 play, and it seems that sometimes Frontline wants to take a risk. We saw a beautiful drop from Bluey a bit earlier, but then they would have had to expect his shot set to be that far out of net to come and save that. So if they want these shots, they might really need to dedicate to the risk to get the high reward.
That is going to be very dangerous indeed as that ball goes up, forcing Freaky to play off the backboard. Ferrer moved himself too close though, and two players committed. Bluey moving up.
I think he was actually going for a landing demo onto Fairy Peak in net.
I don't want to give him the benefit of the doubt for that, but Bluey's going to try and get there, and Ferrer turns that one in. There is a crucial lead.
You know you're good when an entire team just expects you to get a touch. Everyone was just like, oh man, Blue's going to take this shot. So Fairy Peak and Freaky just sat and watched in awe, assuming he'd find some crazy angle because he's Bluey. But he didn't get any touch at all, and it bounced right out, and Ferrer will be there to support his teammate. 3 minutes left, and Frontline have the lead.
Ball in the middle. Frontline will now need to avoid going into a defensive shell. MOCKIT will do very well if they are given space to breathe and put together their own plays. Chaussette gets himself up high. One touch off the backboard, he's got no boost for the follow. Ferrer has been beat. Now Bluey by himself in the defensive side does well with it, but still only over to Fairy Peak. Seems like MOCKIT are holding players out, using the V rotation, but just holding them a little bit further back than Frontline were earlier. It gives them more space to run onto shots, if not making them a little bit slower to the ball. But it's so far working out in some situations, but still trailing in this game.
And MOCKIT trying not to rely too much on anything specifically. They really are trying different tactics depending on what they are. If they're on defense, almost a shot, but Fairy Peak will shut that down. But if they're on defense, they are comfortable being on defense for some time. And then you'll see, you mentioned it in the beginning of this game, those amazing midfield passes where someone is just sitting there.
Oh, what has happened?
What?
Defense, where, please?
I just don't think they expected a contest. They knew they were the closest, and Freaky figured, hey, why would they contest this? I'm right next to it. So he took his time instead of using the boost to try and get there. And now they're down by 2. A bit more of a hill to climb for them. Can they do it?
They did this earlier on. Now they've got to try and do it yet again. Fairy Peak puts that one down, but Bluey is there just in time. Follow-up shot by Pashy. Gonna go in off the post. Carpet. We pressed the real match button earlier. Slam it.
Is this a real game button? Because Pashy immediately, he did not want to see that 2-goal margin. He wants to make sure that they can score even at 0 seconds, which they have done before. An immediate turnaround, Pashy 90, bringing his team only 1 goal down.
And that is huge as well. Heading to the final 90 seconds, still 2 goals down can be huge.
What?
We are all tied up.
All right, I gotta watch this one.
Can I ask the same question again?
What?
Defensive, where, please?
Pashy and Bluey. I don't know where, maybe he expected Pashy to get there. I don't know if he got bumped just before. I still tried to watch. But either way, tie game. 1:31 left, Shogun.
That lead has just evaporated for Frontline. Need to quell the bleeding. Pick themselves back up and get ready to try and take this series against this seasoned MOCKIT squad. Chaussette gets rid of it. Here comes Freaky though. MOCKIT starting to layer on the pressure. Will not want to give up this momentum that they have finally built up for themselves in this tie-breaking game. Chaussette, ball up high. He's got boost to try and follow as well, but he's got no teammates to aim for, so this will just be a time-wasting shot. As the rest of the team tries to settle, Bluey came up pretty early. Farah is nowhere around, and Chaussette has to try and get there in time. This rotation from Frontline scares me.
It scares you, but it is doing exactly what it needs. And now Bluey, again, Freaky respecting Bluey. At this point, I think he's a nuisance whether he gets the touch or not.
Chaussette going to rotate himself all the way back around. MOCKIT looking to put something together. Pashi, ball up high. Here comes Bluey. He can just get that into the corner. But as you can see, everyone on MOCKIT is ready and waiting. No matter where Bluey puts that, there is going to be a player ready to get rid of it. Almost with the tap down. Chaussette basically put all of his bets into the, yeah, he's not going to touch this basket. Because any contact that he was not getting anywhere near. There's another shot off the crossbar. Funnel up. There is the save from Chaussette. Pashi 90 with another shot. Chaussette with the save. Farah would have got a better one. Final second. And that is going to have to drop down. That is what Frontline want more than anything else. Farah will be able to help that out. Overtime in our final game of week 1 in Europe. Let's see who can hold this. So far, the overtimes have belonged to Frontline. But can MOCKIT fix it when it matters most? Chaussette, early shot. Talked earlier on about how he was on a team with K-Dop. He was also there with Pashi last season.
Bluey noticing the MOCKIT's having to retreat while they play defense, leaving it open for Chaussette. Beautiful corner shot open for Farah.
Oh, and Bluey, he thought about it so much. Wanted to try and end it, but realized, not now, not there. It's another long ball. Chaussette gets that one up high. Pashi trying to take control of the ball, but Bluey tries to cut that one up. Farah, the ball is over him. That is going to start looping, but Bluey with the boost to try and get there. Very Peak will try and get a block. He's actually managed to do it. I thought that was a bit of a stretching move, but at least some result. Freaky now getting that one straight over to Fairy Peak. I will remind everyone yet again, despite how great this series has been, one goal will be the decider between these two teams. It's another long ball from Bluey. Individual plays starting to become more and more prevalent in this overtime. There is an opportunity for a shot, but Fairy Peak comes in from the side. Farah's just got it, leave it. That is an open net. Frontline are 2-0 in week 1.
They've actually able, I can't believe they were able to do this. Chaussette with a hard hit. Pashi going for boost, caught out yet again. Don't know what happened, maybe again some more boost steals, but they are able to do it. Immense amount of respect for both of these teams, giving it everything they can when they came out. MOCKIT with incredible counterattack, but Frontline, even though their defense freaked you out, Shogun, apparently it was just enough to get by, and they will end it. 3-2 overtime in game number 5.
Chaussette with 5 saves. That is absolutely ridiculous. In fact, 9 saves. I had to do counting very quickly there on the side of Frontline, which is a ridiculous amount and not the amount of defense that you want. But they are not this season's leftovers. They are this season's Frontline. And they are going to continue on, along with Methods, 2-0 to end this opening week. Europe, once again, the same as last season, blown wide open.
Yep, and I think if it was the desk versus the rest took it. Frontline were able to take this through, but honestly, I'm so impressed with their ability to adapt as well. Each game felt almost like a different style, different tactic, the way they were approaching the ball. And you mentioned it, all of a sudden you saw Bluey playing a little bit different in that final game, and then he was slowly able to, the more control they gained and the more power they had, he was able to get back into his groove, and they're able to take that final game. Incredible play from Frontline.
Absolutely. Yeah, you said it. Incredible. Got no other word for it than that. Let's break this one down, shall we? Because there's no way we're going to be able to do it. Let's go over to Axel, Toss, and the rest of the desk.
Thank you, guys. Oh, my God. What an incredible series. What an incredible day. And in that last match, I think we had 3 of those games all go to overtime.
All of them.
In Frontline won every single game that went to overtime. Farah with the 2 goals, a goal in each of the first 2 overtimes. And then in the last play there, I think he like faked at the end and shot set, was able to make it from a long way away. I'm in shock, guys. I don't know. I was like glued to the screen the entire game, that entire series. Just the level, I don't even know where to start.
Series of the day. That was the series of the day.
Series of the season. I'm gonna no.
Yeah, well, I mean,
it's
been a
Don't
short
say that
season,
out,
so you
Alex.
can say
I'll
that.
agree. I'll agree with that.
Especially game 2. Game 2 was probably the best game that we saw this weekend. That was so back and forth, multiple top 5 plays just happening in that game. But Frontline, talk about a stressful start, but very beneficial to them. 2-0. Farah, like you said, or I think Shogun said it. On the leftovers, he started out with 2 upsets, and here, maybe the second game wasn't as much of an upset, but what a series.
Yeah. That's 2 seasons in a row. Farah's been on a team facing off against 2 top teams, and they both went to, all of those games went to game 5. All 5 games. But the only difference is last season they were reverse sweeps.
Farah is the leftover now.
I guess that's what it is. Let's go ahead and take a look at the highlights of this one. Mobile 1 high performance replay incoming, and the highlights were everywhere. Just an incredible level of Rocket League play, guys.
It's so confusing because MOCKIT looked so strong game 1, they looked so strong game 4, and then those 3 overtimes, if they could have just put 1 in, but some defensive mistakes where they would just leave the net for just a little bit too long to try and grab some boost, but that's because the Frontline was trying to take all their boost all the time, so they were starved for boost here or there. But Farah, again, in game 5s, Frontline scored 5 goals, and Farah scored 4 of them in the game 5s today, so he was definitely clutch for them. Everyone's stepping up, though, for Frontline.
Yeah, even the one play by Chassette in the corner, just a solo play where he tracked that ball down. It was awesome to see those guys play. But really, when MOCKIT had success in that first game, they were very physical with the demos, with the bumping. And then game 2, that one was so close, back and forth. Every single game was exciting. I think in terms of scoreline, it was very even. All of it, the whole series long, very even. The goal differential being 0.
But literally, no one could hold a lead throughout this entire series. Like, someone would go up 2, the other team would come right on back, and then, we'll take a lead, but 0-second goal happens, and MOCKIT then ties it again. It seemed like you could not hold a lead here. Both teams fighting tooth and nail for this win. Pashy, he went off. You're definitely going to be the fantasy leader after today. He scored 8 goals out of the 14. He seemed to be set up from both his teammates just everywhere.
Ferry was really playing well with his setups. His passing was just on point, scoping out Pashy in the middle of the field. So MOCKIT, they looked very good, but Frontline, they're surprising a lot of people. They're the real deal.
Again, very similar to the leftovers, I guess, from last season. I feel like we had a similar conversation.
Except, in my opinion, the leftovers, they never really were convincing me that they were a great team. I always thought they were just clawing to survive.
So Frontline does that for you.
But Frontline, I look at them and I say, wow, these guys are good. Like, they are on point. Bluey does things that just make your jaw drop. So while the leftovers of last season, they were a very scrappy team. They would get the wins, but Frontline, they look very polished.
I fully agree there. It seems like Frontline is a team that I would pick in pick'ems from going on throughout. Like with the leftovers, where I was like, I don't really want to pick them, but they seem to find a win. But Frontline is doing it in a convincing fashion. Of course, this series could have went either way with MOCKIT, but the first series was just Frontline outplaying. So hats off to them. 2-0 is a big start, and Method as well, 2-0.
Yeah, and I want to ask another question on this series, guys, specifically about Bluey. And something I noticed, and again, please correct me, but I feel like very fast player, right? Very, very hyper-reactive, always moving around all the time. And I noticed sometimes in that series, sometimes it was a problem because they would double commit. He would, someone would be going for a volley, the shot set, and Bluey would just come in there and try to hit it. Other times you can see how it's very advantageous in regards to he's just in the right place at the right time, just because he's moving around so fast. So can you guys speak on that play style from Bluey, and how do you think that works for Frontline?
We kind of see this with young players. I think Prime Thunder is another example of one that just goes for everything, and maybe sometimes you have to dial it back a bit. It's more of playing around Bluey at times, because Bluey is so good that maybe you do let him do that and let Shawset plus Farah just kind of sit back and watch. And it seemed to work in the series, because MOCKIT was trying to read Bluey's touches, and once in a while Bluey would just go a little bit too hard and miss it, but it turned into a goal anyway because both MOCKIT players were expecting the hit.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of Kronovi from the first sprint in the qualifier, where he would just always be up wreaking havoc. Except Blue, I still think he does a great job of getting back when he needs to and just being so fast to the ball. I think because he's so fast and so reactionary. He's just stuck in the midfield a lot of the time because he's denying the chance for the team to clear.
Wow, just great insight, guys. And honestly, I can't wait to watch Frontline as the season continues. This is only week 1. This is only day 1. Every single weekend, here on out, pretty much until November, we got Rocket League, the top players and teams in the world coming your way. But let's look at the standings of the European region after today's results. And who would have predicted this? If you did, I don't believe you. Method and Frontline are your top 2 teams in the European region.
There you go.
O's for both of them. Gale Force in at 1-1, and the world champions all the way down in 7th right now at 0-1, and they got swept. So that'll matter later for tiebreaker scenario. So it's Europe.
Yeah.
That's just what happens. We just don't know how this
Is that
gonna
what it
finish.
is? It feels like it's that way.
It seems that way.
Yeah, and again, it's like just all these teams are so close in skill, and it goes. I feel like so many European matches are going to go to overtime, and we're going to have very close matches, very close results. This is the picture right now of the European standings. It very well might look completely different, and probably will once we get to the end of the season when those standings are very important. So I want to ask that about you guys, for especially Frontline and Method being at the top. Do you think that will stay the same way? And what do you think they need to really focus on to make sure they play their game and realize it's only week 1? There's still a lot of Rocket League to be played.
So I could see Frontline becoming a top 2 team just because their schedule was a little bit tougher today. So going forward, a couple easier matches here and there. But that Frontline versus Method game is going to matter a lot as well. Like when we get to that one, I don't know.
Yeah, and
It's
also
Europe.
Frontline, both of their games went to 5. So I'm expecting there's going to be another big tiebreaker this season.
So that could hurt
So
them,
that
too.
could hurt them quite a bit since they had multiple games go to 5 series. But they got the wins against very tough opponents. So if they go up against Air Reality and some of these other teams and just 3-0 them, it might not matter that much. But it's going to come down to tiebreakers. I'm calling it now. It's coming
always
down
does.
to tiebreakers.
I love it, especially in the European region, always so close. But let's talk about North America a little bit. These are the matches we saw yesterday, and this is how the standings ended up unfolding. A little bit more predictable, I would say, than today. Energy, Cloud9, G2, your top 3, which is what we were kind of thinking about going into yesterday.
Yeah, so no upsets at all yesterday, but the big 3 are 4-0, so they are showing that they are the big 3. But again, it's only week 1. We still have 4 more weeks of this action. Well, 5 games in week 2 and then 6 games, 3, 4, and 5. So still plenty of Rocket League to be played here. We haven't even seen FlyQuest or Ghost, and both those teams I feel like are big question marks because they're right in that middle of the pack, and they could fall on either side, like moving up into that top 3 or possibly falling out to that 7th spot.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Emotion, I might be underestimating them, but I definitely think they're going to finish in that 7-8 spot. But literally, that 4 through 7 spot is up for grabs.
Yeah, so still very close all across the board here. Again, week 1, just the early stages of league play, very much so. The first, I guess, flavor we're getting from these teams, as we're certainly going to see a lot of different developments, a lot of different chemistry coming together for these teams as we watch them continue forward in RLCS. Again, every single weekend, North America on Saturdays, Europe on Sundays. Now it's time, and this is a fun part of the show here, where
It's always the fun
all
part
fun.
of the show.
Every part is fun, but this part in particular is our Player of the Week. And this week was tricky for the European region. We were in between a few players, guys, but ultimately your Player of the Week for this week is a lot from Method. What an incredible performance from him coming into RLCS week 1 for the European region. Knowing how strong his teammates were, we talked about it before the matches kind of start. Where is the lot going to be? How is he going to play? The answer is he showed up, and he showed up in a huge way. Congratulations to Alot. He is your Player of the Week for the European region. Special mention. It was very difficult. We were talking about Bluey a lot, especially with how well Frontline did today. Bluey won last week. Alot, congratulations. You are this week's Player of the Week for the European region.
And now Alot can get off James's back.
Yeah.
Come on, Alot.
Yeah, geez,
That's
man.
why we chose him. So if you annoy James, then we'll just choose you for Player of the Week the following week. But he played amazing. His cherry picker role was perfectly played throughout both series. And we see some great redirect shots from him, and he really stepped up for Method. Method, as a team entirely, just woke up.
Magnus
so it's
as
really
well.
good to see.
Magnus as well was very good, but Alot, he was the key to their success. We saw when they were struggling last week in the play-in, Alot was the one that was struggling the most, and when he's on point, look what happens. Method, they're now sitting at 2-0, the top of the ladder. It is just week 1, but we've seen how getting 2 early wins can really help carry you throughout the rest of the season with the leftovers. So congratulations to a lot. You deserve it. And I'm sorry for talking trash.
Amazing play from Method, getting the 2-0 victory. They're at the top of the standings. And again, Frontline, Bluey, huge special mention to him. Absolutely phenomenal play. Frontline at the top as well, 2-0 with 2 very impressive victories today. But that pretty much wraps up our day. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in to twitch.tv/Rocket League. We are live every weekend, Saturdays and Sundays. Again, Saturdays at noon Pacific, Sundays at 9 a.m. Pacific. Today is as phenomenal of a day as I remember in RLCS, just based on the level of play, the number of upsets, the different things that can happen. Guys, before we go, any final thought?
Just Europe showing up again. 5 chili spices, spicy.
Yeah, that's 5.
Is it 5?
You need to take me to whatever Thai restaurant you're going to.
I always thought it was out of 10.
That's fine.
I always thought it was out of 10.
No, they can't fit that on the menus.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it depends on the place. It depends
I think
on the
quick
place.
tip. Yeah, go.
Definitely check out the RLRS.
Yeah.
Yes.
We've gotten to see the leftovers play. We've got to see Vivian play in North America. Those are really good matches. A lot of people tuned in on Friday. You really want to check it out. So make sure to do that or 11 a.m. Pacific,
And 5 p.m.
5
Pacific
p.m.
on Fridays.
And then, okay, yeah.
So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we have a Rocket League
Excellent.
competition. Wednesdays, we have our talk show, RLCS Overtime. Check that out at 11, or is it 10? 10 a.m.?
10
a.m. Pacific. Otherwise, I want to give like 2 more minutes for people to get rewards. Good
Yeah,
luck.
oh my goodness. You are a
I'm
man
nice
of the
guy.
people.
I'm a nice guy. So we're going to hang out a little bit. I asked Twitter for questions. And I got one question here.
Most popular man in America.
From Nemesis 101. I'm going to speak really slowly before we take the stream
I really
down
hope I get
so you
white
can
apex.
get that white apex and give me 25%. From Nemesis 101 NL. You guys going to predict something right this season?
Hey, man.
Hey.
That's directed
Shots
at me
fired.
too.
We're doing okay.
Yeah.
Are we
It's
though?
week 1.
We
It's
went
week
7
1.
and 3.
Yeah,
I think both
that's
of
the
us. That's
winning
not
record.
terrible.
And for me, I like getting it wrong. I like being wrong.
Oh
I
yeah,
like
true.
predicting
It's
wrong,
so much
right?
more fun. Like NA, like we both went 5-0. We're like, whatever.
Yeah.
There was no
NA.
game 5s, and we kind of knew what was going to happen. So it's more fun when we do get it wrong.
Yeah.
All right, well, thanks, guys, for the question. Thanks for your questions on Twitter. Thanks for tuning in as well. That's going to do it for now from the RLCS. This has been European Week Play number 1. Thank you so much for tuning in. Remember, twitch.tv/Rocket League each and every weekend. We'll see you next weekend.